It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. I am second half Chaz. It is nice to be here on this Thursday with only 3 more shows where we're going to talk about American football. We may talk some football. We may talk some Canadian football. But we've got the division round, the conference championships, and our canceled Betaway weekend to Vegas. First time in 8 years it's been canceled, but they're canceling a lot of other stuff that's a little more important than my trip to Vegas, so I'm going to let them go. And then, of course, we got a week off. Not sure what we're going to do that week. We are going to start talking to some other guys besides handicappers because there's a lot of tools out there that the three of us on tonight's show use, and there's some people that may not know those tools are out there, and really, any handyman's only as good as his tools. That's what I tell people all the time. My easy sports data program is not necessarily anything, just a tool and a toolkit. It's not the only thing I use. It just makes it letters, colors, and numbers, stuff you learned in preschool. So it's one of the reasons I do good. I don't win every bet, but you know what? I do good, and that's all that matters. So I don't do as good probably as the next two guys, but a lot of times when I'm winning, I'm betting their place anyway. So I guess I'm winning no matter which way you look at it. So we're gonna reach out now. We're gonna talk to John from GMF Sports Consult. We're gonna get Blackhawk West involved here, but we're gonna make sure that they understand we're gonna have a specific goal to this first segment, and that's looking at the big board. We're gonna recap. With too many winners not to recap. You know what? When you're wrong, people let you know. When you're right, you gotta let them know. And then we're gonna talk about our live action. So my goal for this show is to give you a reason to watch. Well, if you could cash a ticket or know it's going to cash or be way on the way to catching before the show's over, well, I don't think there's any other shows doing that. So that's going to be our plan. Now, will it work out? Well, I'm pretty sure it will. I've got some ideas. So, John, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm thinking we all do one best bet, live action, from the minute we got on the show. Now, you could look ahead of time. I did not. Wes, you and I, we talk live action all the time, but last night I mentioned to Wes, I guess hockey's just opening up, until Wes tells me it's time to bet hockey. I don't bet hockey. His name is Blackhawk West. Duh, do the math. But here's what I'm looking at. I got other guys that give me plays. So this guy gives me an over. It's over 6. And I bet it for the first period. I bet it for the game. And they score 1. So, and he already wrote it on his board. He put it as a loser, but I didn't realize he was going to update it as the night went on because I loaded up on it at the end of the first, and then they scored 1 each in the second. So now it's 2-1. So not only did I take 5.5, I took 6.5. So now I have 5.5 twice, 6.5, and 6, the original 6. And it was the Oilers game, and they scored. I think they scored 6 goals, Wes, in the third. Did I mute you? Oh, I got to mute you.
Yeah, they did. I mean, yesterday was just pretty incredible the way that goals were getting scored left and right. NHL's hard right, after one night, but yeah, they lit that lamp in the third period.
So I'm going to ask you now because I know that you like hockey. You're a lot of good things, but you like hockey. So yeah, I would say yes, it is. It's hard in the beginning. Any sport is. We talk about that all the time, but with live action early in the season, how much do you do?
Early in the season, I look for the gap. And to me, that's a common sense play. I look for the gap in the dog. So a team up 3-0 in the first period, that doesn't happen often. I mean, it did to my Blackhawks yesterday. But
Time out. What 2 terms did you use?
The gap.
Between the score and the game and the line?
The gap between the
goals of each team?
Between the winner and the loser.
Okay. Like right now, the Islanders and Rangers, at the end of one, it's 3-0, but it was pretty much a toss-up, right?
Yeah. So the smart play there is Rangers, and you're probably going to get 4 or 4.5. The pregame, the Rangers were actually the favorite. So the smart move there is to just take the Rangers and the points.
You don't see a lot of -10 on hockey, though. That's a coin flip, right?
It's -110 was a 6 over under.
Right. So that's for the Rangers. What were the Islanders?
I'm not. I'd have to look it up. I wasn't paying much attention to the game, but when you're talking about what to look for in some of those games, you look for a team to go up big, and then you look at the other guy, 3-0. That could happen in hockey, but one would think one team's gonna pump the brakes.
Well, I'm looking at it. I'm seeing 3-0. Though the dog is winning at the Rangers Arena.
Yep. So right now you can catch +3 at a -110 payoff with the Rangers, which that's probably the smart play. If you are a firm believer in the Rangers and the money line, if they were a favorite ahead of the time, I mean, +750, that's a lot of value there. The smart move is you take the points there. And that's what I'll look for if I'm actually going to watch these games, because it's important with hockey to watch the games because most of the teams have a 2-goalie rotation. So you got to know 2 goalies. The travel does matter, the consecutive days of travel. And these are all new divisions right now, too. They've shuffled the deck and put them into completely different divisions. So some of the familiarities aren't there anymore. And old rivalries have come back in some divisions. So NHL on a normal season, a non-COVID season, I would probably give it about 2 or 3 weeks just to see how things are going to unfold. And this is an odd one, too, because we just crowned a champion at the beginning of September. And here we are in another season.
Well, the NBA is like that. So let's talk to John from GMF Sports Consult. You know, one of the things, John, by the way, this has nothing to do with anything, but I made a note that we have to put together a package for after the Super Bowl for your plays and stuff, because we did a deal, but with football ending, I know for a fact that in the old days, when it wasn't legal everywhere, when football ended, the betting handle went down a little. But I'm telling you right now, these guys that are basketball fans, that are college basketball fans, that are hockey fans, they can bet in their bathroom. So, and it's legal. You know, we can always bet in our bathroom, but it wasn't always legal. So right now, what are you doing? What are you looking at? I mean, today, did you handicap, and what did you handicap?
Yeah. So today the main focus is going to be college basketball for me, and NBA is really, really, really tough. Especially, obviously, I mean, all sports experience it with the COVID situation. But yeah, NBA for you guys who are betting NBA, it's tough because you can't really put your bets in ahead of time. Between players sitting, last minute scratches, these so-called rest days. I mean, look at, and I don't want to make another example out of him because I'm sure if you follow NBA, you know about Kyrie Irving with the Nets, with the situation that he's sitting out. Now, you know, whatever his personal situation is, I'm not aware of, but, you know, we're barely, 10, 12 games into the season. He's already missed a handful of games. So, you know, you have to pay a constant attention to these lineups at NBA. And so getting your bet in the morning, you know, night before, I don't do that. I really won't start really seriously betting NBA until probably about another month or two, until you start seeing that little separation and you can kind of tell which teams are more geared, you know, to kind of play in the playoffs and stuff like that. College basketball, that's probably my second favorite sport, my second best sport to bet besides, you know, baseball and NFL will probably be a 50-50 split. And then I'm also watching NHL. I'm not a big NHL bettor, but with the Vegas Knights here in Las Vegas, you know, we got hockey. We got hockey fever in the desert. You know,
when the Kings were good back in the day, and I was living up in Orange County, it changes your world when your team is good. Now look at the summer we had. We had the worst summer in history. I couldn't go to the San Diego Zoo, for heaven's sakes. The friendliest place on earth said, "Don't come to here." So the pandemic really messed us up, but because the Padres were good, it gave you something to look forward to at the end of the day, and they were hitting grand slams every day for a week or so. So you're absolutely right. The Vegas Knights and their success really it makes you appreciate hockey. Now, we know hockey is a great sport. If you're a hockey guy, you know, you think it's the best sport, and it really is. And live, there's nothing like a live hockey game. There really isn't, because the camera follows, you know, the puck. And almost all the activity has nothing to do with the puck, and that's the beauty of it. But all right, so we got one guy that will look at college basketball, one guy to look at hockey, a little hockey. So we got to come up with 3 plays. If we got to come up with 3 plays in the first 20 minutes of the show every week, we each go with our best bet, and it's a live action play. Now, It may not cash by the time. However, it could, as you know, Wes, right? With overs in hockey, we've had times. How many times have you and I talked in the last couple of years? And bang, bang, we got back-to-back goals.
Yeah, well, first period, or
we had 1.5 for the period, and we got 2 goals in 6 minutes. So, but basketball probably not. But you know what? Say we're looking at basketball lines, and I'll use college basketball. So I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to bounce at a few scores and see what's going on. But what I look for is I didn't know what you meant by gap, but yeah, I look for the first thing I look for is a dog that's winning the game early, because most games ain't a sprint. They're a marathon, and especially basketball, where the last 2 minutes can last an hour and a half. I mean, you know, we've been at NCAA games. We went to the tournament many years in a row. Not the Final Four, but everything up to the Final Four on the West Coast, of course. And so we'd end up in San Jose, or we end up in Anaheim or LA. Oh my God, when you're there, you don't realize how much you're just standing around waiting for the guys to play basketball again at the end, because they put in commercial after commercial after commercial. It's brutal. So that's what I'm thinking. And then in hockey, we'll do the same thing. It really doesn't matter the sport, but really, we're limited right now, I think, on a Thursday night, because I never, you know me, Wes, longer than John, I'm a weekend guy. Thursday, I'm looking at Saturday. My son called me. I remember the Brazil story, so I'm still being his bookie. And he called me, and I said, no, I'm not betting the Lakers. They won. I'm not betting the Lakers. I got to work. I have a job, you know? And so, but that's going to be my plan, because I really believe that, you know, you can't parlay them. But if we could go 2 out of 3, then you're going to come out right with the head units. Might only be 3/4 of a unit. You know, you never know with those second half lines. They'll get them up sometimes to 140, 150. But if we think it's an easy winner, you know what? I talked to my wife about, and we're going to cover Saturday in segment 2. And in the third segment, we're going to cover Sunday. But I talked to her about the Kansas City game, and I've got some notes that I made to talk to her about a gambling strategy when the points are that big. Because the only way, as you both know, to get the points down is you got to give them your money. You give them their money, they'll give you the points down. And in the Kansas City game, you give them a lot of money, and you get 0 points, you know? So John, so tonight, do you have the ability to look at some college basketball scores while we're on the air?
I not while we're on the air. But I will because I will give you one right now, because I actually have action on this game as we speak, and it just went into halftime. So I was looking at the Indiana. So Indiana is playing Purdue. Indiana's at home. Indiana was a 4-point favorite, 3.5-point favorite, and
that's an excellent one.
Yeah, and they're down right now. We just went into halftime, and they're down. I believe it was 40-36. I'm watching the game, so I'm kind of keeping it out the corner of my eye. So that's what I see. I'm actually on Indiana tonight. So that
works for your play for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
So and that's a good one. So we're going to hop on that right now. Mm-hmm. We're going to hop on that before we go any better. Now the beauty of it, that's technically a live action play, but it isn't, because we can parlay that as well.
Correct. We can do some second half plays with that as well. Yep. So if you manage to have another 4:00 game going on, and there's some advantage, so
so it's -3 at traditional -110.
Okay.
We had actually a conversation Saturday night about betting games that are -3, but that was animal.
Yeah.
And so here's what I'm doing. I'm going to do I'm going to do a half a unit. I'm going to do a half a unit to win on the straight bet.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take that same a half a unit, and I'm going to put an open parlay in, because you guys know, but people said something about porn. I said, listen, I do open parlays. It's better than porn any day of the week.
Yep.
And I'm going to go live open parlay with them for 752. So that'll give me a unit on the game. But if, God forbid, you're right, and your handicapping was right from the beginning, then I'll be live, and I could use that to fill that in later this weekend.
Exactly. Yep. So
Wes, if I talk to you tonight and I said, okay, and remember, Wes, we walk into the Westgate and there's that big board, with all the numbers on it. What's the first thing you think your eye would go to tonight?
Well, if we're walking into Westgate, the first thing I'm going for is a racing form.
All right, I like that answer.
Where are the buggies running? Where's the first place I can put money on a trotter?
Yep. Well,
But
you know what? It really is. I grew up back in the day, and Squeak occasionally checks us out. We probably gonna have Squeak on here when we do some horse racing. He's got a horse racing fantasy thing I think that we'd all like. But what I'm looking at is the Trotters came on after wrestling.
awesome.
So I think we got 30 minutes of wrestling in the 30 at 11 o'clock, like on a Saturday night. You know, we were teenage guys, so most of us, we got in trouble. We got caught out after 11. So
Yeah.
But the Trotters have always been. I love the Trotters, and they're really, besides the fact that it's fixed, it really is a little easier than thoroughbreds.
I think the program's a lot easier to read. Most of the races are they're all in a mile. I mean, that's really all you're looking at. And, you got the class to take into consideration. And when they start moving around from track to track, different tracks are faster. You got the mile track, the half-mile track, but none of the furlong business with the flats. It's a little bit easier. But
that's not going to help us. So
no.
They have no more. Well, let me ask you a question. That's a great question, actually, because Tommy wouldn't stop Tommy in a second from betting. If there's no more forms left, I'm not betting. How about you?
I need the form. I need the form. I could be dead wrong 10 races in a row, but I break down the stats in the book the way that I break it down. And by the time I go to place my bet, I feel like I had a cup of coffee with the jockey.
Yeah. Okay. So that doesn't help us at all tonight because we're not. We got NFL, NCAA football, NCAA. That ain't gonna help us either. NCAA basketball, NBA, NHL.
Well, I'm staying with that New York game. I mean, I think we just called it out. We got two teams that are pretty equally matched. The edge in coaching, I think, goes to the Rangers, and they're down by 3. So, and at this point, it's shifted to plus 110 on the payoff. We're just asking them to lose by 2, make a game of it. So,
what do we go to for our second live play tonight?
New York Rangers plus 3.
New York Rangers point spread, puck line. I got them at 2.5 right now.
I don't like that as much as I like 3. So there's probably a power play or something.
That could be, but normally they shut it down for that, don't they?
They just shift. Sometimes on my page it starts blinking and flashing, and normally that's a.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to leave the window open, right? And see what happens. We're trying to get that Rangers to plus 3.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. You know what? While we're here, what if the Rangers score? We're never gonna get that, right?
They score, it's probably going to 2.
Right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for the Rangers to win the game outright.
So I'm just gonna throw this out there.
We're not going to count that as one of our plays. But I'm thinking to myself, I will kick myself if I don't put a couple ducats on that. That's
So Chaz, I'll throw this at you because if you're liking the Rangers to win outright, and I can see John's eyes lighting up. The over is 6.5. So the Rangers winning outright means you got to cover 6.5 to do it. You got to get to 7. So I'm just throwing that out there. The original
that's minus 129. That's minus 129.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and I like that. So we're going to put that in, and I'm going to count that as mine. So we're still waiting for yours, but the only way we're going to get yours. Here's the thing: the only way we're going to get that 3 is they're going to have to go without scoring for a while.
Mm.
All right. So rather than go with the over, I'm going to hop on the 2.5. And the logic is this: I only need 1 goal. They go the whole period and they do nothing for 2 periods and they get 1 goal at the end, then I'm good. Now, so I'm going to ask you some hockey stuff that I don't know. Now, Joe from Connecticut. He's a great hockey guy. We got a couple of hockey guys we talked to. So the question I'm asking for you is, when do you have too many goals? When are you down too many goals that you don't pull the net anymore? You pull the goalie.
It really depends on coaching, and it depends on the players, and it also depends on the importance of the game. First game of the season, team down 4-0, 4-1. I would think they're not pulling the goalie, but some coaches they want a hard effort every single time, and they're going to push, and that's just what they want to do. But 3-1, I think you're still pulling the goalie. What will change though is how early you pull the goalie and the momentum of the game. But at some point, they probably just don't care too much about it because, again, with hockey, it's not like college football where you win and look good doing it. A win is worth 2 points in the standings. So you could win 8-0, you could win 2-1. It all did the same thing for you. And the name of the game is to get out without getting anybody injured. So if you're down 7-1, 5-1 in a hockey game, and you're the coach.
Oh yeah, that's where they'll switch goalies and stuff. Yeah, I've seen that.
Get your guys out of there. Don't get your captain hurt. Don't get your top line defenseman hurt.
Okay, so here's where we're at. We're going to count. And this is one of the sports betting lessons tips. You got to have multiple books because if I'm not live on a show, I'm looking at both books, but I only have money in one book. I got my kids' money in the other book, so I'm trying to keep it separate. It wasn't that important, but I'm going to count your 3. We're going to count your 3 as a play because I would have made that. So what was it when you saw it?
It was -110.
All right. So then we got Indiana -3 for the second half, right? Mm-hmm. And that's because that was just timing. That was great timing on your call.
Yeah, that worked out good.
And we got one more we put in. What was it?
I think Wes was saying about the over too. If you were leaning towards the Rangers, right? Yeah.
What did we end up going with? The third play. I'll just have to. You know what? Let me just refresh my screen here, and I'll see what we have. I thought there was.
I think you also said you had the Rangers money line too. I think you said you were going
to.
Yeah, I'll count that. I got you.
Oh, let's see. Was it? Oh no. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, that game hasn't started. I would use my buddy's play there, but okay. So no. Yeah, we have yours, we have his. So I didn't have one yet, so I have to do one. All right. So and I'll tell you what, that'll be great. When we come back from break, I'm going to kind of show you how. If my wife says, "Honey, do you mind if I go out with my friends?" and I have no plans on betting, what I do when we come back. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. So we're doing this. What we're doing, here's their plan. There's a lot of guys, right? Would you both agree there's a lot of guys? I'm going to talk to you on that. John, there's a lot of guys out there doing shows like ours, right?
Oh, yeah, especially right now. I mean, with the pandemic, there's a lot of guys getting into podcasts and just in general. And there's a lot of people betting. And obviously with the betting being legal and all these states adopting the sports book and allowing, gambling, there's more and more people giving more and more opinions. And, social media is a great way to do it,
Okay. So Wes.
Yes, sir.
Do you watch any of these kind of shows on Sports Center or any shows that are betting shows?
Yes and no. I watch a lot of sports. I like to listen to a lot of talk radio. And I like the opinions, but what I find the stuff that's interesting to me in watching the sports is when they talk to the different players. And I like the opinions that are out there, but quite frankly, their opinions are geared around the game and not necessarily who's going to cover and who's not. I mean, there's the big picks panel where everybody makes a pick towards the end of the game, and some of the networks have even gone to picking against the spread. But I don't know that they're breaking down games and looking at it through the same lens as jabronis like us.
Yeah, and I appreciate the compliment. But anyway, so
yeah, I almost like any of those shows on like ESPN. Like when these guys are giving betting advice, like I don't even listen to that. And no knock on any of the guys on ESPN or Fox Sports. They're great radio personalities, but for the most part, I wouldn't take any betting advice from them. They're not really doing 99% of the research that we're doing or anything like that. So, as far as watching it, like I like Barstool Sports. Obviously, they've had a great run. But they're more creative content, I think, than probably a gaming, And then probably if you're going to watch a little bit of like funny segment, Scott Van Pelt does a Bad Beats segment.
Love it.
So, yeah. So I mean, like that is like, I just love watching that. And man, it's great just because you put yourself in those shoes, even though you didn't have that ticket. I mean, we've all been there. So you put yourself in those shoes.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I think I think all three of us have been on both the good and the bad side. And when I'm on the good side, I'm cheering. I hope that makes Van Pelt. I hope that makes Van Pelt because I wasn't on the bad beat side of that.
How about Buffalo in the first half, right? There's no way I win that first half.
Mm-hmm.
It was my big bet of the day. It was the first bet of the day. I tell my wife, First bet of the day, last bet of the day. That's what if I can hit just those two, I'm a happy man because I'm playing with house money for a while and at least I got something to buy my date dinner with. So my wife really likes football. She's a big football fan. Doesn't watch the show, but she's a big football fan. So she likes the HBO Showtime, the Showtime, channel. And they do the picks. And I saw it. I don't really watch it. Sweetie Pie, I love you, but I just watched all the games, every single play of the games. I don't need to see it again, But I do watch a little at the end when they talk about next week. But the record, the number one guy I think is 500. He's a coin flip at best. And when we did our CBS contest, Wes, our guys were much higher than 50%.
Oh, for sure. And if we're 50% in what we're doing, we're paying juice most of the time, unless you're picking outright money line winners.
Every single game.
Yeah.
You're never going to do that. But even in our CBS contest, you had to pick every single game, and our guys were 55, 60%.
Yes. To win, you need to be above 60% to win.
So here's what I did. I went down and I looked and I saw I had Houston at San Antonio. So I just did a quick look at their past 10 games. That's what I look at when if my wife leaves and she says, honey, do you mind at the last minute, Julie's picking me up. We're going to go hiking. Oh, go, baby. And then I get out open the computer, look at the book. So I get a matchup, and I'll usually have it on each screen. So I got two screens. The home team is on the right. Of course, the bidders are on my left. And I just look at their last 10, and I see if anything jumps out at me, and I move on. So I got San Antonio was losing by 9. They're given 7.5. And I looked, and Houston has lost like most of their games on the court. And San Antonio hasn't. And I said, you know what? That's what I'm going with. So the third play today is San Antonio for the game -1.5. So it opened at -7.5. We got it -1.5. We now have 3 live plays we're talking about as the show goes on and right before we leave. And when we win, we could do the math on social media and people will come and listen and then they will win and then we will actually become, you know what our name will become? The line changers, the line movers. It won't be Sports Betting Weekly anymore. We'll be the line movers. So let's talk Saturday. Saturday, I'm going to start I'm going to give you each the floor. I want John on the first game, John first, then Wes. Then I'll give my opinions afterwards. So, John, the first game Saturday.
Well, Saturday is my personal favorite slate out of the 2 days. Both those games, I'm personally probably going to be betting on. Like I said last week, NFL playoffs. Don't go crazy, guys. These are very, very competitive teams. But I'm going to go stick with the Buffalo Bills. No one circles the wagon. They're at 6.5. I'll probably look to buy that down to 6. And then once again, wait for that in play. As we mentioned last week, we had some Buffalo in play action because Indy got up first. So there was an opportunity that we can jump in. And then I've been riding Green Bay for a long time. And so I'm just going to kind of continue with them on that trend too. Sunday, I like the team.
No. I apologize. You're going to talk about the first game. Then Wes is going to talk about the first game, and then I'm going to comment. Then in the second half of the segment, you're going to talk about the second game. Then Wes, this is just Saturday's segment. So
gotcha.
More about that Rams at Green Bay game.
All right.
No. I want to hear more from John. He just mentioned he likes Green Bay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just like Green Bay. Obviously, I'd have to give their offense a huge advantage. The Rams, their defense is pretty good. You obviously seen what they did against Seattle, which was kind of the most surprising because I actually had Seattle winning that game, not by much, but I had Seattle winning that game last week. So just the quarterback issues kind of worry me on the LA Rams side. But this week, I just have to go with Green Bay at home with Rodgers. I have to go with them. I have to take them.
And what do you got? What are they giving? Touchdown?
I believe it's 6.5. Yeah.
Same game, Wes.
So I'm also on the Green Bay side of the game. A little bit different reasoning. Everything John said, I agree with. But what I started to look at, Green Bay only has 2 wins this season by 5 or less. They've won 13 games this season, and in every one of those games, for the most part, they're over that 7-point spread or 6-point spread. So, and then I just look at kind of the offensive turmoil that the Rams are going to be in this week. They didn't really show much quarterback identity last week. And I don't think it's going to get any better with a team like Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers coming off a bye. And that coach-quarterback combination, I know that there was a lot of talk about it, and you'll hear play-by-play guys talk about how that's a good relationship, but I think it really is. And now coming off a bye, those guys are having fun with one another, and I think that they're going to be able to jump on the Rams, and the Rams won't be able to come back. And I think that that's going to force the Rams offense into mistakes, and the defense will become one-dimensional. I think that Green Bay is going to win this game pretty big. I don't look for any competition on the Rams side, even with that amazing defense that they have.
So here's what I'm doing. I'm betting the Rams in the first half. I'm betting for the game. I'm betting the over by itself. I'm betting it at a parlay. I will have the team total over for Green Bay for both the first half and the game. And then at the second half, my plan is to bet Green Bay and the team total over. So I like Green Bay. All right, so that's Saturday at 1:30. Now, let's see. We're in good shape. We're going to go to Saturday at 5 o'clock. We're going to talk about Baltimore at Buffalo. Now, we know you love Buffalo. Now, last week, oh, my God, if you only bet Buffalo for the game, then you know what? I have no sympathy because we've been here for 8 years now teaching you that if you like them, it's like Chicago. Vote often, vote early. If you like it, why wouldn't you have them in the first quarter? I always do a little bit first quarter because, first of all, it's the first ticket it's going to cash. I'm not betting any kind of props like first touchdown till the AFC NFC games. But if it wins, and you say a third of a unit, well, guess what? That's a third of a unit. That'll cover some of the vig later on if you got a game where you want to, buy a couple points. And you go from 110 to 150 or something, and so with the second game we got Baltimore at Buffalo. Buffalo is minus 2.5, I think, right? We got a ticker.
I think it was at 3, but I think it dropped to 2.5 today. There's also
so you're coming back on a team that lost against the spread last week.
Yeah, they lost against the spread last week. There was some in-game opportunities with them before, but yeah, Buffalo probably at that 2.5. I'm going to see what the money line situation is compared to the overall juice on the spread line. So I'll take a look at that, and then also you have to take a look at the weather because from what I'm hearing, there could be some snow situation in Buffalo. I kind of seen that run across and heard it somewhere. I haven't really looked too far ahead in the weather schedule, but that's something you got to take in mind. I mean, it's Buffalo. They could get a lot of snow, and that could change the game. And I mean, Lamar Jackson looked fantastic running the ball. I mean, after they got down, like he pretty much took that game on his shoulders and got Baltimore all the way back. So it's going to be tough for Buffalo to control Baltimore, but maybe they get some snow, and maybe that helps them a little bit.
I'm going to ask you a question, John. Before we go, I'm going to say, hey. There was a game, it was a bowl game, I think, where it might have been a playoff game, it might have been week 16 or 17. You guys, if you saw the game, remind me, where you couldn't tell, the way the camera angles, you couldn't tell where they were on the field. And they finally digitally put in, it was Chris Collinsworth, whatever game he does, Sunday night.
I remember that game. I just don't remember the team, but I know it was bad. It was really, really bad.
Put in the number. So I'm talking about, that field. You see that field in your brain, right? That field right there. If that field shows up on Saturday night, does that make him less dangerous or more dangerous?
That's a good question. I would almost say more because you would kind of almost expect them to run a little bit more. But, is the Buffalo defense going to, focus in on that? It's tough with the snow. I think didn't Lamar Jackson have some cleats issues too? I remember him changing cleats and maybe like the middle of the season, like he was slipping all around and then he had to change some cleats around. I think I kind of remember. I'm not sure if that was him or not, but I would probably say more dangerous. The Lamar Jackson, if you watched that game last week, you seen how fast he was compared to everybody else, which is crazy. I mean, if this guy gets just a little bit of open room, like he's going to blow right past you. And I think that's going to be the issue with Buffalo here. If they can get, obviously that's almost with any team, but if you can control Lamar Jackson, because he's going to run 100 yards. Yeah.
No, I remember, and just so you know, those a little plug for our sponsor, championshipfootballs.com. We're working right now at a reissue. We don't reissue many. We have people that call. We put them on a waiting list. When we get enough, we're going to reissue the Louisville Sugar Bowl football. They won the Sugar Bowl, I think it was the Sugar Bowl. But they won the big bowl game when he was there, and then they haven't won since. So we're going to do that. So let's ask Wes. Wes, that same field, it was so bad that they had him digitally imposed numbers, the 30-yard line. Does that make him less dangerous or more dangerous, Lamar Jackson, on Saturday?
I think no matter what field you put him on, he's going to win this game. I have Baltimore in this game. I had Baltimore last week, and for similar reasons. I didn't expect Baltimore's defense to do what they did against Tennessee and hold them to 13 points and just pretty much silence one of the toughest beasts of a running backs in football. But I think that the way that they're able to control the clock, Buffalo just let Indy own the time of possession. They have the ball for 34 minutes, and they have one good running back, one capable running back. When you look at the Baltimore, you don't have to just stop the number one rushing offense in football. You got to stop the quarterback too, and I don't think that there's any stopping him. And he can pass the ball. Buffalo's defense is not. Buffalo's defense, I just don't see being able to slow him down. The only way that they can slow down Lamar Jackson is to score fast and furious and often. And with the snow on the field, that slows down Diggs and some of those faster receivers that Buffalo has. But even without the weather, I'm on Baltimore in this game. I also like Baltimore for the first half. It's 10.5 for the first half, and over the last 3 weeks, Baltimore is averaging over 15.5 points in the first half. They're also a top 10 team in the league as far as first half scoring. So I'm going Baltimore points, Baltimore first half, and then depending on the way the first half goes, there might be some money line too.
Yeah, the bottom line is this game is Baltimore's defense versus Buffalo's offense. That's really it. Well, Baltimore does not give up points. They just don't give up points. Like you said, 10 or less the first half, 5 of the last 6, 19 or less for the game, 6 of the last 7 overall. On the road, they're just as bad, just as good. They give up 10 or less in the second half on the road, 5 out of 6. And the second half is when games are won, and 23 or less. You know what? I like the under in this game. I think Buffalo's going to win, but I don't know if I'm thinking they're going to win by 2.5. I'd rather have 2.5 than 3.5. Don't get me wrong. All right, so when we come back from break, we're going to look at our live plays. We've got 3 live plays. If we made you some money, you're listening to Sports Betting Weekly.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I'm second half Chaz. We are joined by John from GMF Sports Consultants and Black Hawk West. We are live. We got some live action. So we ended up with 3 plays, guys, right? So right now, I've got all the games up, and I'm going to make sure that we have over the next 20 minutes the ability to leave with a pretty good idea of where we're standing. All right, so the first one was NHL. We had the Rangers getting 3 points. And so I got to get that game up because I'm just getting the Rangers, the NHL game up. And it is now
Geico's whole 15 minutes thing, that came from me. My first idea was, in 1/4 of an hour, your savings will tower.
Oh, there. So it's 4-0. I look at score.
15 minutes,
So,
15%.
But that's it. There's only 1 goal so far in
Geico.
that third period. So. All right, so then we've got the other game was your basketball game, John. Indiana. Indiana's up 15-14 in the second half. Now, that was a second half play for us. Right? They're giving 3 for the second half.
Yep, correct. Yeah, they're at the line. They're working now. It's a close game. They were down. I was watching pretty much the whole game. The first about 10, 12 minutes, they were down by double digits, and then they kind of came back. So it's been back and forth. So this is going to be a close one.
We're going to check on that right before we go. And then with my NBA game, remember what I did is I saw same thing with Indiana. I saw San Antonio down. The second quarter, they both scored 18, so it's back to a 3-point game. It was 9, I think, when I took it. So guess what I did, guys? I did it again. I know. Maybe I need to listen to that commercial.
double down. There you go.
Well, I got the Spurs -7 in the second half. So you know what? I'll take a middle. Like they win by 1.5, they win by 7. So that's our plays. We'll check back with those before we get out of here. But we are on to Sunday now. I wanted to say one thing before I got your guys' opinion. This first game Sunday, is a 10-point spread. Would you ever consider a 10-point spread as a money line bet? Let's ask John first.
You want to know what I wouldn't, because then you get stuck to get value out of that. You have to put a whole lot of teams in that money line bet. You know, and then
$500 to win 100.
Exactly. It all depends on your bankroll situation and everything like that. But even with a big bank, I mean, I don't even know what the money line is. I won't even look at it. It's got to be at least -5 or 600. I think 480. Okay, so minus there. So I mean, unless you're parlaying that with something of value, once again, me personally, I would not do that, or unless you have some bankroll, that you don't mind laying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on for a money line bet, but then you got to figure your ROI at that point, So yeah, me personally, no. If you want to do something for fun, I see these guys with these crazy 8, 10, 12 team parlays. If you want to do that, sure, why not? Go ahead. But me personally, I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
This is my suggestion to you. If you have a very big balance in your Bitcoin, okay, take out some of the money, because Bitcoin's going to keep going up. It's going to go down. It's Bitcoin. It's going to do what it's done for the
Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Take some of that money out. Take like 4,800 out, right? Hope that Bitcoin goes down, and then put 5,800 back in at the lower price. Now that would work on that investment website. That's what it is.
That's the way to do it. I like it.
All right, Wes. We didn't. So we're talking about that game, John. First game of the day: Kansas City host Cleveland.
Yeah, I like Kansas City. I like them all year long. But I mean, if you follow them, they don't cover. And obviously, the playoffs.
Can I interject here?
Yeah.
I was talking to Vicky. In their last 8 games, combined for the first half, the game in the second half, their record is, I didn't do math on it, but it was 3-19-2.
Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, you can't, numbers don't lie, right?
3-19-2 in the last 8 games. Yeah. Just burning people's money. They've won games. That's why I asked about the money line.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to play KC, obviously that's the play you want to make. That 10 is ridiculous. I don't recommend ever betting a 10. To be quite honest with you. KC's probably looking to maybe get off to a better start. As we know, last year, all of their games, they were behind. They were behind by significant amounts. I don't think they want to repeat that situation. Cleveland's coming in with a ton of momentum. They're feeling real proud. I mean, Cleveland's, puffing out their chest. Everybody's on the Baker Mayfield train, which rightfully so. They played very, very good. But let's be honest, Ben Roethlisberger is not Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to get – I don't think Cleveland's going to get those gifts where the ball flies over the head, where Mahomes really doesn't throw those interceptions. I like KC. I'm not going to take the 10, like you said, maybe throw them in some money line parlays for the fun of it. Cash out that Bitcoin on Friday and yeah.
Right now, the bottom line is those Cleveland Brown backers, they deserve everything they get. My son had them on the money line. He had a good weekend. He had the 2 upsets, the Rams, and he had the Browns in a money line parlay. Paid
Nice.
And you put a guy's bets in, you think you'd get a piece of the action.
You got to get your vig off there. You got to get your cut.
Thank you. I love you. Click. All right, Wes. You're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. You've been a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but you know your team, and like I always credit Sloppy. We got to get Sloppy back on. I always credit Sloppy. He's the same way with Seattle. Passionate, but knowledgeable and not stupid. No bet with your heart over your head. Are you going to touch this game?
Well, I am going to touch this game. And, to what you had asked earlier, would you ever consider going money line? And everybody on my podcast, when they bring up questions and ask about picks, what I say is if you feel like you need to buy the spread down to 9, well, then you like the other guy. So go there and keep your money. There's no, or just, this isn't the investment for you. There's always going to be another game. I would go money line on the dog if I felt it. I took Washington to beat Pittsburgh on that random Tuesday afternoon, and that was great. But as far as this game goes, A lot's been made about the Chiefs not covering spreads, but I think there's value to what John just said about how they don't want to repeat it last year. But what I was looking at, Andy Reid off of a bye. I mean, that's the popular thing to say right now. But I think what you got to look at is Andy Reid's Kansas City Chief defense off of a bye over the last couple of years. You throw the Raiders game out because I think they underestimated them. But the other piece that I look at with this game is the Chiefs have played against really two just run-centric offenses this year, where they're just not a high-flying pass offense, just mainly running the ball, and that's Denver and Baltimore. Limited quarterback, just purely run the ball. And what they did to Denver is they jumped out ahead and they beat them 43-16. When they played Baltimore, again, the Baltimore Ravens that are in the playoffs, they jumped on them early, and Baltimore, being as run-oriented as they were, beat them 34-20. So I think when you put all of that together, I think the Chiefs are going to win this by 20. I think everything happened the right way for Cleveland. They got 3 turnovers early and jumped on top of what I feel looked like a very broken Pittsburgh team with the drop balls and everything else. And so I think that credit to Cleveland. They deserve that win. They look great, but I think that was more of a Pittsburgh team not belonging than and Cleveland caught a lot of breaks. So I think that this game is going to be ugly. And again, this is not the Chiefs season ticket holder talking. You have to look at what the Chiefs defense does against running offenses and defense coming off a bye.
Well, again, those games you mentioned were right on my Easy Sports data, but they happened before the line I drew. And that line I drew is they're 3-19-2 against the spread. That is a number that is going to be really tough to get money out of my pocket here. And that's why I was asking about the money line. I have a little betting strategy that and again, I give Wes a lot of credit. He's as good with the betting strategies as anybody I've met. That where you bet a certain amount of units to win a unit, and I want to win a unit on the money line, and then I bet a unit on the point spread. So if it lands between 0 and 10, I break even. If it lands at 11 or more, well, no pushes. So let's assume there's not a push. Then and of course, if Cleveland wins a game outright, I lose all the bets. And I've done that before, but normally, I don't know, 360, 375 is the top end for me. Because even then, you know what? If you do break even, you put a lot of money down, and you should have just gone to the park with your dog. So that's my thought on that game. I think I'm going to wait, and I'm going to bet that game live. All right, so the last game of the day, we got a couple minutes. We're in good shape. Is Tampa Bay at New Orleans. John, GMF Sports Consultants, talk to us.
It's a great game. Obviously, I mean, marquee quarterback matchup. This is what the NFL wanted, right? Great Sunday matchup. You got Breeze and Brady. Tough. This is probably a game that I'm personally going to stay away from because I can't call it. I don't know. Michael Thomas, Kamara, Drew Brees. I don't know what Drew Brees' injury situation really is. They haven't really disclosed it. He had some serious, rib injuries and whatever that he came. I mean, he looked pretty good last week. And then, Brady on the other side, we all know the weapons that he's got. Defense, I think the Saints defense looked really, really good. If you put a gun to my head and tell me to pick one, I would probably go with the Saints right now, but I'm personally staying away from that one.
All right, Wes.
So I really like Tampa here. I think if you are a New Orleans investor, 3 is a good number because that's a field goal. But I really like Tampa here, and I like them to win outright for a couple of different reasons. We're not going to see 1-2 in both conferences. So I like Tampa to win this game outright. It's very difficult to beat a team 3 times in a row. Bruce Arians is just a gutsy coach. So he's probably got a game plan, and he's going to roll the dice early. And Tom Brady has more experience winning in the playoffs than any quarterback that we've ever seen. So I like Tampa in this game. I don't know, how much I like them to win by, but that doesn't matter because we're getting 3. But the real investment for me is Tampa first half over 10.5. I think that is I think that that's a gift. If you look at what they've done in the last 3 games in the first half, that should tell you all you need to know about what's going to happen there. So that's the investment. I'm also taking I'm going full unit there, and I'm also taking Tampa +3 for the game. And then there'll probably be some money line, into some high stake parlays, some minor. Because you taught me, Chaz, if you go 4-0, you better have that parlay. You better have the parlay.
All right, so I've got both team totals over and the over. So when someone says who you like, I got the over, right? What does that mean to you? They've got the game over. For me, that'll mean at least 7, maybe 9 plays. So I'm doing, and I told Vic, I said I'm going to do that whole participation trophy where you root for everybody. It's a really cool way to watch a game, but it's even better when it comes out. Oh my God, it's so much fun to have an over with both team totals over too. If one of them hits it, you can go 2 and 3, and the other guy doesn't hit it. But when they both hit it, it's a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to get out of here. What are we going to do? Is first we're going to check on our plays. So we're going to go first to the hockey game where we are getting with the Rangers. We are getting 3, and we're still 4-0 at the end of 2. So we'll look for a goal and take a push there all day long. We got the Rockets are up by 1 over San Antonio in the fourth quarter. No, in the beginning of the second half. So we have them -1.5. And finally, we are going to the Indiana game. And let's check the Indiana game here.
Yeah, this game took a turn. Indiana's, I'm watching it right now. Indiana's down 10. So they need to hustle up. We only got 7 minutes left.
10, but we don't have them for the game.
That's right. Yep.
We only have for the second half. They're down 6. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. They could still lose and cover the second half, but yeah, they definitely need to step it up these last 6 minutes.
Kind of how we're going to run Sports Betting Weekly in the near future. The first segment, we're going to cover live action. We're going to play it. We're going to try to win you guys some money. There's going to be a reason then to hang around for the first 20 minutes anyway. The second segment will be half of the games we're playing. Remember, eventually it'll be one game. So with Super Bowl Sunday, what we'll do is we'll probably go with the props. And I guarantee you in the second segment when we go with the picks, by knowing your props, I'll know who you pick. John, tell them where they can reach you.
You can reach me, GMF_sports_consultants on Instagram. That is the best way to reach me. I also have a website, GMF Sports Consultants. Just type it in. I'll pull right up.
And you, Wes?
Nowhere right now. It's soon to come. All
right. Yeah, well, we always hashtag you Blackhawk West anyway if we can't get the Wesley Boston.
Hashtag Blackhawk West. I have a Twitter page set up. There's not much content on it. I have a Discord group. It's at Chicago Options Trader. So if you
we'll focus on it in the near future. I am Second Half Chaz. You've been listening to Sports Betting Weekly on the Belly Up Podcast Network and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Always be cashing.
Good night, guys.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.